person. But 5 minutes ago there were a lot, or 3 minutes ago there were quite a lot of people in the street, and it's light now. We were in the dark last week, weren't we? This week we're just metaphorically in the dark about how long this should go on. Now we could see our neighbours, the whites of their eyes, across the street. So they're all clanking away. Well, she is anyway, we have fewer, but what they're lacking in numbers, they're certainly making up for enthusiasm. Thank you very much.
Yeah, is that you clanking that thing?
No,
Steve?
It's not. It's the missus. It's the missus agent.
Bristol, they're still growing. They're still clanking. There's an orgy of clanking going on in Bristol. I don't think we've got anyone to speak to there to tell us how this has been organised. Oh, that's beautiful. Phil's in the Mendips, not a million miles from there. Can you hear it from the Mendips? This clanking in Bristol,
not
Dr.
quite, but they've got a brilliant, lovely NHS vibe in Bristol. It's a really lovely place to live, and it's very cohesive. So I'm not surprised they're giving us a big shout. Well done, Bristol. I'm very proud.
Anything in the Mendips at all? Are you rural or semi-rural or in the middle of nowhere?
There's a light tinkle, but I'm not sure if it's a cowbell or not. But it's there's certainly some young kids out there, and my neighbours are giving it a clap. But you probably won't be able to hear it.
Okay, well that's good to hear. And what about Salma Shah? Where are you and what can you hear?
I'm in central London and the clapping has just stopped, so I'm in an apartment block, but a lot of people came out on their balconies, a lot of people out on the street, lots of pots and pans were here as well, but it's all just died down, and actually really, really lovely.
I think we are just about ready for question time now, so Salma will be joining us to go through it all after the show, and Dr. Hammond too, and Kastan Cheshin. Over to you.
Secretary, newly out of self-isolation, having had coronavirus, and joining us straight from answering questions at the daily press conference at Downing Street. Elected as an MP in 1997, former Secretary of State for Work and Pensions and Shadow Home Secretary, now chair of the influential Commons Home Affairs Committee, Yvette Cooper. Donna Kinnair, nurse, professor and head of the world's largest nurses union, the Royal College of Nursing. And born in Uganda, a trained lawyer turned cleric, former Bishop of Stepney, then of Birmingham, and since 2005, the Archbishop of York, John Centenary. Now, if you've been watching, you know that this is not quite the usual question time. We do not have a studio audience for obvious reasons. But this week we have 3 panellists, all seated at a suitable social distance. And we're also joined by the Archbishop from York, John Centenary. Very good to have you joining us. Now, this week's pre-recorded questions come from Rumble, because that's originally where we were intending to be. But we will also be taking questions and comments live via social media at BBC Question Time. So if you contact us on social media with your thoughts, your questions, your comments, I will feed those into the discussion as we go along. Now, we're watching the clap for carers there. Here in the studio, we just want to add our quick round of applause for the carers. There we are. John, clapping from York. Thank you very, very much indeed. Right, let's take our first question tonight. Down the line, a pre-recorded question from Adam Toms, who is 22 and a student.
Good evening. I'm currently a master's student at the University of Birmingham, but I also work part-time at my local supermarket. During my shifts, I encounter quite a lot of customers. Therefore, I'm wondering why Germany has mustered over 500,000 tests per week, whereas we've only managed 5,000 to 8,000 per day. Why does the panel think this has happened?
Well, Matt, you were talking about this in the press conference earlier on today. Why have we lagged behind? Why have we taken so long to get even as far as we have?
Well, we've got one of the biggest testing programs in Europe, but there are places like Germany where they have been able to do more tests because they started with a huge diagnostics industry, which is just not the thing that we've had traditionally as a country. They've been the European centre of diagnostics, started with over 100 labs in Germany. But none of that takes away from the absolutely accurate point, which is that we want more testing. I mean, of course, I understand why people want the certainty that you get from having a test. So we're ramping up testing. We've hit the goal of having 10,000 tests a day by the end of March. And today I've set the goal of 100,000 tests a day by the end of this month. And to do that...
Just repeat that, I didn't understand that in the press conference, because there was talk of 25,000 by the end of the month and 100,000 by the end of the month.
100,000 by the end of the month.
And that's to test if people have coronavirus at the moment?
The goal was 25,000, and by pulling together a national effort, I think we can get to 100,000. So that's the goal I've set today, and the whole pharmaceutical industry is going to have to help play its part in the same way that we've got manufacturers, expert manufacturers who've never manufactured a ventilator before now manufacturing ventilators. The pharmaceutical industry that normally deals in other types of drugs like vaccines and what have you, they are joining this national effort to get enough testing. So we do test more. We've tested more than France, the Netherlands, lots of other similar countries, but there are countries like Germany that are ahead of us, and I think that we've got to increase the amount of testing, and that's important, so that's what we're going to have to do.
So just to be clear, the aim is 100,000 by the end of this month to test people if they have coronavirus, not if they've had it, but if they actually have it at the time of taking the test.
It's 100,000 tests overall. As you say, there are two different types of
so it's
tests.
100,000 for both types of tests?
Exactly, on all the different strands of testing policy. We have 5 different strands. I won't go through the details of it, but you're right that essentially there are 2 types. There's either the swab test to see if you've got it, or a blood test to see if you have had it. But the latter, the science isn't yet developed enough for those tests to be in large scale good enough not to give false results, which is worse than having no test at all because it gives false comfort.
So, just so I'm clear, the 25,000 tests by the end of April is to see if people have the symptoms. If people actually have it.
That was the old goal, right? The policy is really clear. It is that by the end of this month, we are going to have 100,000 tests per day. That is what we need to do as a country.
To test if people have got coronavirus and if they have had it.
The whole lot.
Both types of tests. Okay, I've got that clear. Yvette?
So I strongly welcome the measures that Matt has announced today. I think having this sort of strong commitment to broadening the number of organisations that are involved in doing the testing, the universities, the private sector, the charitable sector, all of that. I think that is really good, that's really important. If we're honest, this has been hugely frustrating, the whole process up to now and the concern, the confusion about the testing, but actually to have that commitment to broaden it out is really welcome, because I think that the centralised approach and just using PHE, they're doing a great job, but it is just not enough to do the scale of the test that we clearly need. But I still have, obviously, look, there are questions about, how and why we got to here and when and so on, but put those aside because the important thing is where we go now. I still have a big question about the overall objective with this and how this testing fits into the wider strategy, because I'm not sure what your plan is around the community testing. Is the community testing just going to be the antibodies that have you had it, are you now immune? And is it an immunity test for the community, or is the community testing strategy about whether people are infectious? The kind of South Korea strategy, testing people, tracing the contacts and so on, which the WHO has always called for. And there's been this whole debate in Britain about really whether the government strategy was immunity or whether it was suppression, and it's never really been clear to us, and I'm still not clear with this testing strategy whether you're pursuing immunity or whether you're pursuing suppression as the ultimate objective.
We're really clear. We are bending the curve down, so if you like, if you call it what you will, it is about getting the curve of the virus down to slow the spread. It is not about trying to achieve immunity of the whole population. It's about trying to get the curve down and protect lives. And to do that, you need both types of tests. Exactly as you say, you need both the tests to test if people have had it, and therefore that they're likely to be immune, like hopefully I am. But to get lots of those, people keep trying to sell me these tests like pregnancy type tests. We keep checking whether they work, and so far we haven't found one that works. And then also ramping up the so-called swab test, swab up your nose to find out if you currently have the virus. Both of those are very important.
So will you do actually the community testing of the current infection? Are you planning to increase the tracing and so on as well? Because I understand the flattening the curve, absolutely right. Everybody wants to make sure that the NHS can cope, and they are heroes dealing with this at the moment. But in terms of how we come out of the lockdown, how we come through this, is it by getting more people to have had it, which seems to be the government's strategy at the beginning, which was obviously worrying, or is it by getting to a point where we can do proper community testing and tracing? And if it's the second, which I hope it is, that's great.
This is like a select committee.
Don't you need to go? But I'm trying to find something, because these are the questions I thought, we were trying to get the answer to it. If you get that level of community testing and tracing for infection, don't you need to go way, way beyond the 100,000 that you're talking about at the moment? Shouldn't we be setting a much bigger objective, even if we can't get there in a month?
Yes, we have a goal of 250,000, but I wanted to put a time frame on it, and I wanted to say to my team, to the team at Public Health England, who've been brilliant on this, to the NHS and to the life sciences industry and the companies involved and the charity, all the rest of them. This is our collective goal. The date on it, the number on it, I'm the one I put that there. I said that this is our goal, and we've now got to make it happen. And just there is one further short, really important point in this, which is that of course getting to broad community testing is important and is the goal, but we have to prioritise the tests that we've got, starting with the patients for whom it can be a life or death matter, then the critical NHS staff, then key workers, and once we've got enough tests for all of them, we can then get to the community.
Well, on that point, Donna, yes, I was going to say, let's hear from you.
Remember that people coming into the hospital, coming from the community. So there is COVID-19 in the community. So we do have to test the community, because it's not just existing in a hospital. And if you look across from Ireland, many of the people that are getting COVID-19 are in the community. So one of the things that you and I know is it's important, if your child's got a cough, you understand, or you've got a cough, you understand what it is, because nor do you want to be a spreader, or nor do you want to self-isolate for 14 days unless you know that you've got it. So it's hugely important, and we are going to have to ramp up the tests across the community. We have focused on in the hospitals because we know it's a place where it's spreading, but equally we know that 1 in 10 workers from who, your healthcare workers, are also people that are spreading the virus. So we need the tests both in the community and in hospitals.
And I noticed that Matt, you wouldn't commit to saying when health workers would get the coronavirus test that they required, as many as they felt they needed in order to be able to see if they got symptoms, if they were infectious or not, whether they could come back to work. What's your feeling about that, Donna?
Well, we have to get it, because if we don't get it, we won't be able to work. So what we know is, although the figures are getting better from this evening's press conference, we know that at any one time between 25 and 40% of our healthcare workers are self-isolating. So we've got some hospitals.
So how does that tally with the figure that you gave at the press conference? What did you say in that? You said something like
5.7% of doctors and 8% of all NHS.
Because on Monday we were told it was 25%.
Yeah, but that survey was not an accurate survey, so I wanted to get that figure and explain it to the public, because 8% is still is much lower than people had previously reported, but it's still a high figure. This is why Donna is completely right about the need for the testing within the NHS, and then once we've got to that, then we can keep the numbers going up and keep expanding.
Let me just, John, I want to come to you a minute. I'm just going to read out some of the tweets that we're getting in, or the comments we're getting in. Bev Hope, would you agree that you were slow off the mark? This is obviously addressed to you, Matt. You knew this was coming, yet testing and ventilators requested a late stage. Isn't part of the problem, says Brian Russell. We started on the wrong track with herd mentality and then changed, I think it means herd immunity, and then changed track. This meant we were at the back of the queue for buying tests. Someone who refers to only as JC. What is the blockage of getting to 100,000 tests per day right now? Is it money, lack of testing kits? I mean, John, you're listening to this. What's your view?
First of all, I want to begin by praising the NHS staff And in my book, they should get the tests. Yeah, they should get priority just like the patients, because they are putting their lives in great danger, and because of their coding and because of their reputation, nevertheless, the children. So not the fault of that, it should be really the patients and all those who are on the front line of doing it, plus those who are doing social care. I think the testing should happen. And in the end, I don't think that the government actually could have prepared better. It's almost like a family bereavement. You can do your best, but when it happens, it hits you pretty hard. It's almost like having an earthquake. You can prepare as much as you like, but until it happens, it becomes very difficult. What the government, I think, hasn't done is to do what Kitchener did. Your country needs you. So you have galvanized our industries, everything that they've got. You're coming to slightly late. I mean, when you have, for example, Formula One, Mercedes-Benz saying they are capable of producing breathing equipment, they can produce 1,000 a day. There are many other companies that actually could, without relying on things coming from overseas. So you need now to galvanize all the industries and all the scientists and everybody else and say, we are at a war with this invisible danger, and therefore we want you to do everything that you can do. And so